Hello, everyone. How are we today? Ready for a new episode? Today, our startup program master is Maayan Sharon. She's an innovation and business creation manager at the EIT Israel Hub, and we're here to discuss about startup ecosystems and what we can learn out of this. Welcome, Maya.
Thank you for having me. And I'm looking forward to our conversation today. First podcast, but I'm a fan of podcasts in general. So thank you for the opportunity and hopefully not the last.
March was a full month dedicated to celebrating women, as you know. What does it mean for a woman to be in a position like yours?
That's a good question. Maybe I'm gonna surprise here with my answer, but I'm part of a women team. Like we have a majority of women in our team in the Israeli Hub and also in the global outreach. So I feel I grew up to a mother that is a manager and always like working in a very C-level positions, and a grandmother that was like, a nurse, a head nurse in the hospital. So I never saw like a barrier or like something that can hold me back or like a glass ceiling for me. I'm very privileged, to think and act the way that I don't see any barriers or anything that can stop me, but not all pink, right? Not all is perfect. And I do see when I go to different events or hearing different panels, I see an all men sometimes on stage or something like that. Or, when you see some accelerators, you see all men sometimes in a room, maybe one woman. So that's things that, disturb me like in my heart, like things that should be changed. But in my personal space, I do feel very empowered. As a woman, obviously there are things that needs to change, as I said, but from my personal experience, I have no limits and I'm on the go all the time.
Nice. And I know that you are also running some nice initiatives at the EIT about women, right?
Yes, yes, in EIT and also personally, I've been involved in some initiatives for women. So, personally, I've been finishing two amazing programs for women entrepreneurs and women leadership program in the Israeli ecosystem. So, the first one is WE, which is the Women Entrepreneurship Program, where we learn the basics of how to launch a startup, how to identify a problem, how to do market analysis, how to raise money. I did it as a student. I actually been participating in the first cohort. Now it's huge. Now this program is in Ivy Leagues in the US and other places. And I highly recommend to start from scratch, mainly when you're working with entrepreneurs, to really understand their journey and their roller coaster that they are going through. Some women, launch their own startups after this program. And the second program, which is Woman to Woman, was when I was much more, let's say, advanced in my career. It was the last year. And this is a matching program to connect with a C-level woman, manager, a boss, CEO. Either it's in the high-tech world or is it in the health tech world. It can be a doctor or a lawyer or anything like that, that you can learn from her journey. And, as a mom, as a woman in this world, how did she made it to these positions and to the decision making tables. So I had an amazing mentor that I'm still in touch with from AWS. She's a C-level manager there, and it's not even the career advice, but more
The
even like a
support.
psychologist with a mentor with everything.
Yeah.
So it's really really nice. And
Nice.
to your question, yes. So EIT does lead programs like EIT Supernova program. They support women-led tech startups to scale internationally with dedicated training and capacity building. And we published also in our newsletter the VC Academy, of the EIT community. This is for women in different positions in VCs to take it to the next level, how they can, take it to the next level in terms of investment and, first rounds and, maybe be principals or partners in a VC. Also here, training, mentorship is also included, and obviously the networking part to help them get to these positions.
How
So a lot of things are going on.
Nice. How do you see the numbers changing about that? Do you see it more? We do see it like from us on the Founderhood side. It's an honor and it's a very exciting thing to see that as years pass by, like in the last 2 years, we see more and more women, more and more different kind of people taking over management positions or leading innovation in their own local ecosystems, etc., which is an amazing thing. But how have you seen this on your side? Have you seen the numbers changing?
I have like different thoughts about it. So in EIT, there is a huge focus on diversity.
Mm.
So every open call for startup program that we will open, this will be not only in our thoughts, but it will be in the selection and eligibility criteria. You will get extra points if you're a woman CEO, a woman founder. So that's something we're really taking into account in almost every cohort that we have of every program for startup. You will see women entrepreneurs in the cohort. You will see them leading. You will see them participating. So for us, the numbers are steady, but also increasing. So absolutely. When it comes to the Israeli startup ecosystem, the cyber tech and now the defense tech as well is very dominant in the ecosystem, meaning it gets a lot of funding. They're more quickly to become unicorns or even more than that to reach IPO. And sometimes, or most of the times, this is very men-dominated community in the cyber community. And also there are different reports in the OECD, for example, that shows that there is still a gap. There's still a gap that Israel needs to close when it comes to women-led entrepreneurship and women-led startups. I don't know the exact number, but it's definitely something we need to address.
I want to know more about the Israeli innovation ecosystem. What do you believe makes this ecosystem special and effective?
Okay, so I will try to summarize what the makes Israel so good and mature ecosystem. Obviously, it's not the only one. There are a lot of great ecosystems out there, emerging ecosystems as well that we're looking at. But Israel is something very unique and it's rooted in our history. Okay, so when it comes to survive and be resilient. It's something that Israelis had to do since history. The Jewish people had to be resilient just to simply survive. So when it comes to innovation ecosystem, this rooted circumstances really helped us to overcome different challenges and really encourage the willingness to take risk and to also pivot very quickly when it's needed. So that's something we can call it soft skills that really help Israeli entrepreneurs. The second thing is there is a saying to fail fast and fail cheap that a lot of Israeli VCs or Israeli entrepreneurs are acting by because there's no fear to fail. There's also a very nice event in Israel called Fuck Up Nights where C-level managers and founders sharing their biggest failure and what did they learn from it and how did it help them grow. So it's really something that's very common in this, ecosystem. You're talking about your failures. It's something that can help you grow. And also sometimes VCs and investors will maybe benefit or not benefit, but will be more interested in the startup founder that failed and move to the next one, move to the next initiative, next startup. It means he learned something. It means he has this capabilities. And I think one last thing that comes to mind, it's a very networked and supportive community in the Israeli ecosystem. there is the law of 6 degrees of separation, right? There's only 6 people that can separate you from the person you're looking for. So in Israel, it's 2 degrees of separation. You can very easily connect to the person with the person that you are looking for to connect with. It's very common to also reach out via email or LinkedIn to a C level or a CEO and to just have a direct approach. It's a very small country. Everyone is well connected. Another example is when you see mentoring. Okay, mentoring for startup, it's usually pro bono. Okay, it's something that from a goodwill. So that's something we see different from other places. So overall, it's the resilience, don't fear to fail, and this sense of community.
Nice. Yeah, community
And,
is very important.
and what do you think EU can learn this Israeli ecosystem?
So that's a good question. And I never want to make it seem like we're better than anyone. There are things that are rooted, as I said, in our core just because our circumstances were like an island. We need to basically create our own solutions. We have no peaceful neighbors, so we have to come up with innovative ideas and solutions. So, what I would maybe encourage, let's say, European entrepreneurs, it's really the no fear to fail, meaning, and no fear to talk about it as well. There's no shame in talking about your challenges and your, I don't know, hurdles along the way in your entrepreneurial journey. You also see it, once COVID ended, you see a big shift of returning from I to we, right? To a much more community sense that people were looking for. So these spaces, either virtual, physical spaces, are very much important. And this is another role startup programs and incubators and accelerators can play and take the lead to create this sense of community and to help the startup really understand what they do after the loop, right, of this roller coaster. How do they get out of this fog of maybe failing or maybe doesn't know what their next steps? So I think that's something I would take from the Israeli mindset.
Usually, even on the failure side, we do always focus on the successes, but in reality, in
Yeah.
the startup world, failures are more than successes. The numbers are on the other side, and it's a very big lesson hearing what people have done and has not worked, or what you have also done and has not worked, so that others can take a lesson out of it. You're speaking truly at the heart of what we do on Founderhood, because on Founderhood, our core vision is to be able to help into the direction of creating a global virtual ecosystem where all founders, all programs, all investors, all the innovation stakeholders can unite and bridge the gap between them and find resources from one side to the other. So if we had to imagine a utopia of this global innovation ecosystem that is the same among all countries, all continents, etc. What tools do you think are needed in the following years to strengthen those connections between the different ecosystems and manage to go closer to this?
Yeah, I really love this question and this topic because it's really, I'm working now on a project with Japanese corporates. So when we're talking about interconnectivity between ecosystems, this, because this is Japan, I'm Israeli from the Israeli Hub, and we're talking from the hat of the EIT Global Outreach, right? Where there is a global strategy and global mindset. So when Japanese wants to learn best practices from global, hubs and eventually work with European startups, that's exactly that, right? Once this Japanese ecosystem hits this maturity level, or the Israeli ecosystem in this case, so the next step will be really working globally in a much structured way. And the tools to do that, so that's something that I see can really help is a digital platform or really online communities, as we said before, to really facilitate those networking opportunities, those knowledge sharing, to discover potential partners or partnership opportunities. So that will be, I think, vital in this next step for ecosystems, obviously from all over the world, maybe no need to take a plane. The second thing is, more, and we do it at the global outreach as well, more international programs for talents or researchers and entrepreneurs to create more global network and global knowledge and to understand the difference between the ecosystems. Usually, not usually, but we're trying this year to focus maybe on a couple of ecosystem and not generally Europe, but that's something that I guess will change in the coming years. And obviously, everything related to regulations and incentives, frameworks that can really help startups to move and to scale to different ecosystems to reduce any challenges or reduce any barriers in these terms. I know Greece has a very successful project with the visa, right? With the initiative Visa for Entrepreneurs or something like that.
I think we could speak about
Nice.
regulations within countries or
Wow.
within Europe or continent or whatever forever and ever. There are so much issues with that all over the world. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I can relate. And I think, I'm personally working a lot about open innovation processes. So sometimes, let's say I want to come up, let's say, with a new project or new service. So any shared innovation platform, like shared innovation, open innovation challenges will help maybe get more, let's say, global solutions for corporates, for multinationals, and so on. I don't know if it's like realistic, right? Because they will need to share basically something they've been working on. But I think in ideal world, that would be great. So let's say I see they're looking into, I don't know, ESG and climate risk solutions, or these are the challenges. So I can come up with startup solutions for them and allocate for them from the ecosystem.
I
So
see.
that will be ideal.
Yeah, I think we are getting there. Like when I started studying back in 2011, we were a very small percentage of people within a business university because I studied economics. So I was in the world of business theoretically since day one. And back then, the global scene was a very small thing. Nowadays, you realize you're part of the world and not just part of a specific localized ecosystem since day one in whatever you are doing. So I think, yeah,
Yeah,
we are getting there. We still have many things to figure it out, but I think even COVID that enhanced all those connections between people around the world. And I think it's getting a little bit better as time passes by.
I agree. I agree. We have no choice.
Do you think that innovation and entrepreneurship is in a scale up phase globally nowadays?
Um, you're talking about startup like programs for entrepreneurs or like the,
Yes, like the innovation and entrepreneurship in general.
I think definitely not in a freeze because there's still need for innovation and technology even more than ever. Also in a very competitive global ecosystem, right? When there is a lot of shifting and changes and every day looks different. So I think innovation is always on demand. What I do think is there is a bit of a freeze, or not freeze, but let's say a layback of funding, of money that can be deployed. We call it dry powder, right? When there is a lot of money, but it can be deployed for many different reasons. The money is too expensive now, taxes are high, there's a lot of changes. So it's really risky to invest, although we do see big rounds of investment. I can share with you, and I shared it also on the stage in the Beyond conference. Recently, Wiz, a cybersecurity, cloud security startup company from Israel, was acquired by Google for $32 billion. This is Google's biggest deal, and obviously Israel's biggest deal since the high-tech scene started here. So I think that's only that, just saying that there's no freeze at all, right? Because this huge deal is a game changer, right? It's a game changer for the Israeli tech ecosystem, and there's a new playground to play. I think that's very, very interesting, the shifting that we're seeing now. And also, I think entrepreneurs has a different role to play now in this world when we're seeing AI, obviously, and deep tech technologies and the climate challenge, which is still affecting us and it's gonna get higher and higher every year. So I think the challenges are still there. So meaning that the innovation and the technology still needs to address that. So I think it's quite the opposite, and I'm both curious and scared of what this technology is going to bring to us, right? I'm not still ready to live with a robot in my house, right? It's still intimidating to me, but I'm okay with others, like other AI things.
Do you imagine a
What's your
startup being funded by ChatGPT? You
Wow.
imagine?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, it's not the tech and the AI. For me, it's more the robot, the technologies that has a human form.
Mm.
I think that's like something from a movie
Yeah.
that I still can't wrap my head around it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
True.
I have
True.
a small robot in my house, that cleaning the floor. So that's a start.
Yes. True.
What do you think are the challenges these innovation programs can have nowadays?
So I think the challenges, and I always love to talk about challenges because that's what runs the world and helps you think, what can I do better? So as we talked about now about AI and deep tech, so I think accelerators now have a very specific role, or a different role at least, to play in this world. So they need to be much more specialized and experts in this field, okay? There's no way you can open a cohort, let's say, for any sector or domain without talking about AI, right? It just can't happen today. You have to talk about it. You have to incorporate it in your cohort, in your sessions. So that's something, it's a must, and it's obviously very different from the years before. So anything related to domain expertise, it's very, very relevant. I said it before, but when you're talking about community, so there's also a challenge or a need, if we want to say, of creating spiral opportunities for your alumni. We see a lot of VCs, let's say, raising money now in order to invest a follow-on investment in their portfolio, and more focus on that rather maybe to invest in new startup. It's also happening, but we see a lot of focus in your follow-on investments. So I think here as well, the challenge is how you create spiral opportunities for your alumni. It can be in Founderhood, it can be in EIT, more mentorship or more peer-to-peer networks, also anything related to equity-based or investment opportunities. So that should be addressed. Also, I think the programs that were very short, right? Maybe more hackathons, or maybe 1 week program or 2 weeks or 1 month, and then you can do a POC. I think it's maybe sounds good because startups have limited time, but I think it's going to be less relevant because the processes are longer and the investment rounds are longer. So I think more sustainable structure to programs will be more beneficial than very short, intense programs that maybe don't provide what they need. And also, I think the challenge will be, I can tell you personally, only in EIT, we have 44 different acceleration programs. That's a lot. Obviously, all of them are great, right? All of them are amazing. But how you differ yourself from the other programs? We have Y Combinator, we have Techstars, Plug and Play. These are the ruling ones. Why not going there? Why go to your program? So you need to be more market fit, and you need to think what will help your startups and what will bring the top tier startups to your cohort. right? So I can tell you personally that our program, Calling to Scale, this is our scaling program. Almost 100% of startups are still operating from our 3 years operation of this program. So that's a good sign. So how do you bring the best startup to your program? How do you defer yourself? I think this is another challenge.
Yeah. Where do you think that innovation programs can really make the difference?
So I think it also depends on the ecosystem these programs are operating from. Personally, let's say from the Israeli perspective, there is no fear to go out from the lab or from the academia and launch your startup. There's not like a gap or maybe like misconceptions that maybe my idea will be stolen or what should be my next step. It's very clear where or to who you should approach in order to start. And if it's not clear, someone will find you and will explain you what to do, because we're looking for more entrepreneurs all the time and helping those researchers and PhDs to come out from the lab. That's very similar to the US, right? You see entrepreneurs coming out from their lab to the market and starting their operations. So I think for these markets, focusing on early stage startup, more accelerators and not incubators, it's very beneficial. And I will say one more thing about it, but first, the comparing to the European side, I think one of the reasons EIT was established was to take great ideas from lab to market. Today, we see in EIT the Jumpstarter, which is one of the biggest programs in Europe. They just closed, I think, their 9 or 10 cohort application. They got almost 1,000 applicants, which is unbelievably amazing. And you see just people with ideas and how you can help them. So this is something that EIT is very good at. And coming back to the Israeli side, we're facing a bit of hurdles in the tech ecosystem this year for many reasons. And so there is a need to create hubs, to create new startup, to create from scratch, to bring people with ideas and to help them. So that's a shift that we see. But again, depends on the sector, because from the cyber point of view, it's not like that. You can finish your military service in a very high elite unit with an idea already, with a technology, with your team, and you can get out of the army and raise your next round. No accelerator, no nothing. So it depends, but we see those two trends.
Yeah, makes sense. What are the top three industries you would bet on in the next 10 years of entrepreneurship? What do you think is gonna be trending?
You're talking about like specific ecosystems.
No, as industries, yeah, of course, AI is gonna affect pretty much all of them. But like, what would you bet on? Like, I don't know, education, future of work. I don't know. Like, what would be your three top industries you would keep an eye on?
Yeah, so obviously AI is like the octopus, right? Controlling everything. So that's we're taking for granted, that's for sure. I think we'll see a lot of green tech and food tech or anything related to climate tech solutions getting a lot of attention. There's still money, a lot of money that is ready to be deployed in these areas. I think more and more VCs are realizing that they need to address this, and there's a lot of talent there. Obviously, it's much more maybe risky and takes more time to get your results, but I think it's something that's going to change. I think defense tech, it's not a secret that there's wars happening, and Europe and then China and Israel obviously are thinking about it more and more and starting to act this way. So we see a lot in the Israeli market. You already see a lot of conferences around it, a lot of initiatives, and a lot of interest from the global market around this area. And I think, I mean, we saw this first woman delegation to space. So I think space tech, anything beyond global Earth, I would say space and dual use. meaning anything can work in Earth that can work in space as well, and vice versa. So that's very, very interesting and definitely futuristic.
Cool, nice. We discussed a little bit about the challenges that innovation program managers and ecosystems face nowadays in order to better support founders and innovation around the world. What do you think, given your own experience, what do you think keeps you motivated into working in this direction despite those challenges?
Um, I will tell you personally, in my army service, in Israel, you need to serve 2 years as a woman. I was a soldier social worker. I was helping soldiers in need if they have economic problems or anything like that, because obviously you leave home and you are in your army service. So I was helping them with food and other things that they might need. Sometimes they don't have a back, they don't have a family, or the family is in need. That was 11 years ago. And I feel that I portray this in my life when working with startups. I help them with money if they need, right? I connect them to VCs and I help them with the backing, right? To partner with different corporates and different multinationals, design partnerships, and so on, and basically to better do their job and have a more easy life. So I feel like I'm still a social worker, but this time for startups and entrepreneurs. So I think that's what motivates me and giving me the joy of going to work and still do what I do, is to see those wheels running and to see this needle moving and to really help startups and entrepreneurs reach new heights, and the success that you see along the way and working with amazing minds. And it's always motivating and inspiring as well. I always say, like, one day I want to do it myself, like to be entrepreneur, and the next day is like, oh, I would never, I could never. It's changing all the time.
In a way, I think you're doing it already because you also have kind of you need to keep the same pace. You need to be fast, to change, to be flexible, to find the money to stay sustainable in order to support your teams. It seems that as the ecosystems grow and as you are in the heart of it, because you combine all sides of all these things, you really are closer to that than what you think because you face the same challenges.
Yeah, that's a way to think about it. Thank you.
Cool. So before we wrap it up for the day, it was fast. I hope you enjoyed it. I did a
Yeah.
lot. I would like to ask you one last thing. How would you describe innovation in one word? Whatever word you like.
Wow. In Hebrew or in English? No, I'm kidding. I
Better
will
in
try in
English
English.
so
In
that
Greek.
people can follow up with it.
I think the first thing comes to mind is like journey, meaning journey can have a lot of interpretations, right? But I think it's a journey no matter who is the client or who is the end user or who is the entrepreneur, who is the receiver of the innovation. Any journey, it's something you want to do. Personally, I like to journeys. So yeah.
True. Thank you. Thank you, Maya, for joining us today.
Sure.
I hope you enjoyed it. I will make a spoiler alert and say that we're going to see you in person here in November in Athens. I don't know if you want to make a short referral to your event there as well.
Yes, I would love to. I don't know if you also want me to introduce myself because I didn't introduce at the beginning.
Yes, of course.
So as you presented me, Maayan from the EIT Hub Israel. For whoever listens and doesn't know what EIT is the largest innovation network in Europe, established by the European Commission and Horizon 2020, today Horizon Europe, with the goal to help Europe be more innovative and to take great minds from lab to market and to launch new services and technologies into the market, and also to create more jobs in Europe. EIT today has more than 2,400 partners from corporate, multinationals, hospitals, municipalities, and more, and basically works in 10 sectors in order to solve societal and pressing challenges in the world, starting from health to energy, climate, food, and more. And I'm part of the global outreach, which is the global strategy of EIT, basically building hubs around the world in leading ecosystems to help the startup ecosystem in Europe to scale. We have a hub in Silicon Valley, we have a hub in Tel Aviv, UK. We also have a global platform that works around the world, Japan, Brazil, Canada, and more. And the Israeli hub is established 6 years ago with the mission to build this bridge between Europe and Israel and to create as much as innovative programs and collaborations between the two ecosystems. Very quickly, me personally, I am the Innovation Business Creation Manager. So I have three main hats. The first one is anything related to innovation on demand, open innovation processes, working with corporates and helping them shape their innovation processes with technologies. The second is the business creation side, anything related to scaling for startups, helping them penetrate new markets. And the third one is anything related to consortium building around the rise in Europe, between Europe and Israel, which is something that we're going to do physically in Athens in November to open it to the Greek ecosystem, to form European, Greek, Israeli consortiums and submit and hopefully win together a grant from Horizon Europe. So that's what I do.
Nice. Good luck with that. We're really looking forward to see you next time in person. And
Same.
yeah, I hope you enjoyed today's session and discussion, and that
Very
you
much.
do also more in the times to come.
You did. Thank you so much.
We thank you. Till next time.
Till next time. Yeah.
Yeah. Have a nice day ahead and keep innovating.
Thank you.